Welcome back, Filmholics. My name is Kyle Koenig, but in this channel you'll find anything and everything filmmaking. So, probably about a week ago, I got my 500 subscriber, and I know that's not a lot. That's not 1 million. That's not 100,000, but that is a milestone to me. So I just wanted to kind of say thank you to everyone who's been here from the beginning and the people who just started watching my videos now. Thank you for just supporting me, for all my friends and all the people who constantly watch my videos, even though they're not as good as Peter McKinnon or Casey Neistat. But thank you anyway. So as a special thing and something that I kind of wanted to do for a long time now was to remake one of my old videos, and not just any old video, it is my most disliked video. Also my most viewed, ironically. That's not ironic, that's actually expected. But still, it's my most viewed and it's my worst video and I'm ashamed of it. But to see where I came from and to see how much I've, I guess, progressed in skill and also understanding of film, I want to remake it. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So today's video is going to be focused on the Sony a6400's picture profiles, specifically S-Log2, HLG3, and Cine 2. So before we get started, I wanted to ask you guys a quick question. What picture profile do you think I'm using right now? And I'll reveal it after this video just to make sure you guys kind of get a feel of what this picture profile is meant to do compared to the other ones you'll see. So my first mistake in the first video I had for this was I only used it in a studio setting that was a terrible studio. It was my first studio apartment and I was just filming it there on my bed, literally, because I was just sleeping on a futon. I still have the futon. So today I'm gonna do two different environments, one outside and one in a professional-ish studio. Footage A is going to be Cine 2, footage B is going to be S-Log, and footage C is going to be HLG3. As you might have saw, footage A, Cine 2, has a lot more overblown footage potential, but it also looks good cinematically if you're going for a high contrast style, and if you're trying to just do a quick edit. If you know how to color grade it, you can do well with it. It's just a little tricky to film with. Now footage B, S-Log2, is going to be the best dynamic range you'll ever get from this camera. That being said, it's still an APS-C camera, so that just means that you'll have to deal with, well, a lot of grainy potential, a lot of overblown and unrecoverable potential if you don't know how to film with it, and it's also very difficult to color grade later on. But you do have the most potential to color grade later on as well. Now footage C is HLG3, and that is a very good hybrid between a just regular camera look straight out of the camera and log footage, because that's literally what it's for, hybrid gamma log. And that's the sweet spot, I think, for people who really like to color grade but also have video content that they have to push out a lot of the time and very, very constant and consistently. but it also doesn't have as good dynamic range. But it's just that sweet spot. You'll have a little bit of trickiness, but it's a lot easier to film with than the S-Log, than Cine. So I like to think that that's the best one to use right now. But that depends on your usage. So now that we're back to the studio, I'm gonna show a comparison of what you can do in a studio with all these picture profiles. Footage A is going to be HLG 3, footage B is going to be Cine 2, and then footage C is going to be S-Log 2. And the same problems from the first one occurs in this one. I just want to show you the comparison of what you get from both. That way, if you have vlogging content that's outdoors, usually you know what that'll look like, or cinematic footage outdoors also. And if you are mostly a talking head into like a camera content creator, then you know what that'll look like as well. So those same problems from the first part is going to be upon here too. Additional problems that you'll get from almost all of these is going to be a green shift or a magenta shift. It depends on the lens that you're using as well. So it depends on the glass and just the sensor it has. Usually for Sony's, it's going to be a magenta shift. So this is going to be very, very difficult in the dark areas of your filming, because they're gonna have so much magenta grain that if you try to like fix the color balance on your skin, it's also gonna change that. But luckily, most of the time, if you know how to film right and use lighting correctly, you'll be okay. And also, if you white balance correctly, it should be a lot easier than just winging it. So let's go ahead and talk pros and cons on all these picture profiles, starting with Cine 2. It's a great straight out of camera look, especially since you have to do little to nothing to the color grade, especially if you're using leaning LUTs. And other than that, it's just that's what it is. If you are going to be filming something a lot more color grade heavy, I would not suggest this at all. But if you're just a vlogger and you're trying to do daily vlogs and you're just trying to edit them as soon as possible, get some sleep at night since you're doing daily, then I would suggest Cine 2, because honestly it's easy and it looks decent. But HLG 3 is going to be a totally different ballgame. If you're doing something like a weekly content, or if somebody else is editing your stuff and you can just create content, send it over and they'll edit it for you, then you can easily use HLG, because it takes just a little bit of tweaking with leaning LUTs, and also you can do a lot more stylistic things to the footage. For example, I actually add more blues to this because I like the look of the blues. So HLG is gonna be a totally different ballgame. Personally, I believe it is the best content creation picture profile, because you can do some stylistic stuff and a lot more heavy color grades to it than Cine 2. But if you can't consistently edit within the time frame that you have to edit with that, then I would not suggest it. But if you have the time to use it, then go ahead and use it, because it is beautiful. It just needs a little bit of tweaking with the color grade and color correction, and then you'll have great footage that looks like this. But it's also not the best if you're making a short film. Now on to S-Log 2 with that being said. S-Log 2 is going to be the best choice if you're making a short film, feature film, microfilm, or any type of filmmaking that you want to use a lot of heavy color grading, because you'll have the most dynamic range. It's gonna look the best in post, after post, and it's also gonna have the most potential though of noise, due to the fact that not a lot of people know how to use it. If you know how to use it, then you are gonna be great at it. But it's also going to take a lot longer to color grade. It's also going to take a lot longer to render that, depending on what program you're using. So again, if you don't have the time, don't use it. But if you're making a short film and you're taking that time and effort of editing that to the perfect point, then go ahead and use it. It is an amazing, amazing log footage, well, picture profile. But again, everything has its pitfalls, because you can have a lot of noise involved with that camera. So all these picture profiles have their advantages and disadvantages. The thing is, there's not a bad picture profile. There's just one picture profile right for you. So you just have to choose which one you're able to use, which one you're comfortable using, and just test it out. I had to test out S-Log for a long time. I had to test out Cine for a long time, and I had to test out HLG for a long time. Now I know which one I like to use, and that's HLG, because it's just the best thing I could do with the time I have to edit, since I used to have to work before COVID, and also with the time to give in to me. So it's the easiest. I would love to use S-Log 2 for short films, so personally, those two are my favorite choices. If I'm vlogging, say, across the country, then I would use Cine 2 just because it's gonna be easier if I'm editing on the go. Now that that's done, time for comments. And the first one is gonna be kind of my favorite one. I don't really know how to say their name, especially since it's a different language, but here's their info. I can't show it to you, but I'll show it to you. But they said that, well, I'm your 500 subscriber. It was $4.99. Thank you so much to subscribing to this channel. And I love the fact that you had to comment that, because that makes me so proud that you were actually looking at that. Thank you. Next one is going to be the video for the Sony a6400 review, the first one, not the new one, but that's going to be the one that I had the most backlash for, especially since it was more of an inspirational video than an actual review. So the comment says, love this review, gave me courage to film and hit the dream in the face. LOL, thank you. And I just love that you quoted me. I haven't had anyone quote me yet in one of my videos. So that's kind of an achievement in my opinion, especially since you kind of see that in a lot of people's comments. Thank you again. And also, well, I want to see your films. So if you have filmed something, just show me what you filmed, send it down in the comments, and I will watch it. Last one is going to be the Sony a5000 review, the second one, not the first one this time. And they're asking, but what do you rate the Sony a5000 in a scale of 1 to 10? And I answered this as well. I said that was a good question, and it depends on your budget and experience level. But for under 500, if you're just starting out and you don't want to break the bank, I say it's an 8 out of 10. But if it's for something that's under 1,000, I say it's 4 or maybe 5 out of 10 if you have a higher budget. And we talked more in the comments just to try and give them advice. And honestly, yeah, the Sony a6400, great camera. But not everyone can start out and buy a $1,000 camera and expect to actually enjoy filming. You have to find out first. And to do that, you kind of have to start out. My first camera was the Canon T2i, and that's now an ancient camera. It's still a decent camera, but it's still ancient. And if I didn't have that starting point, I would not have gotten up to here. Now, lastly, I want to talk more about reaching 500. Again, thank you everyone who's stayed and who's been here from the beginning and who's just got here now. And if you guys have any more suggestions on what videos to review or create or anything like that, just comment them down below. I want to have more of a community in this channel now that it's up to 500, and I can't wait to reach 1,000 and just higher up than that. So thank you for being part of that journey. Yeah, I can't believe I got up to here within, I believe, a year again. Reaching 500, but it took me like a couple years to get to 100. It's just that steamroll is it's scary because it's just weird that it's starting to happen, but also it feels like I'm vindicated. So again, thank you guys, and like and subscribe and dream on.